Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unapologetically You. Today, we're exploring the truth behind the phrase movement is medicine. This is beyond the gym, this is beyond the aesthetics. Movement actually affects everything from mood to focusing on our immune system, to our health, to our longevity. And personally, as a strength coach and a health professional, we will unpack the neuroscience, the physiology, the emotional benefits of movement, and why it's one of the most underused prescriptions in modern health. Now, we've seen her from someone who has been nervous on the podcast and now she's addicted to the mic. Plus, we get to see her be her authentic selves. And she is trained to know about medicine and movement. And I'm so glad she is here co hosting with me for a hot topic of the day. Welcome, my beautiful co host, Krista.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm excited. This is
Me
a good topic.
I know. I'm gonna rely on you. I'm just gonna be almost like the host who just asks the questions. So
Oh,
hopefully after my science bit, you can just take over. But before we start, a little tidbit, a little question and answer. What made you smile this week? Like
well,
pause here.
yeah, just really had to think about that. I love that we're talking about this because movement is medicine. And I'm actually was gifted something, a cycling trainer. So
Oh,
I can cycle in my house, safety of my home. Winter's coming, snow's starting to come. Um, the rain is getting really icy on the roads. So I'm super excited. I'm very, very thankful. I think I manifested this in my life, but I'm just going to leave it out there because I'm just so thankful that it literally landed in I don't want to just sell it. I want to give it to somebody I know who's going to use it. And it was like, wow. Um, the privilege for somebody I actually very much so look up to in the world of movement, um, was like, no, this could go to anybody. No, 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 no. I know you have better plans for yourself. I know you want to become better at this. So that's for me, it's the decision. I am going to keep this going during winter.
yeah.
And so I'm currently making space for that device to, hook my bike up to that and give it a go. But I don't have to stop. And that's what I love is I can keep going.
Yeah.
I don't have to even leave for whatever responsibilities I have in my life in my current home. And that was such a big, for me, a barrier that I was struggling with is, okay, if I'm 20 miles away on bike, how can I get back and still make it in time? And so I feel like this solution just landed in my lap and I'm like, in my happy feels, I'm like, thank you so much. This is amazing. So
Okay, so last week you said that you have no intention for this coming week because you want to just follow your joy. But do you reckon the biggest win was getting the bike? It's making you smile, and your intention is to use it?
I know. Isn't that crazy? I had no intention that I was going to just receive something this it's just you know and then we get let me just go here for just a second. Be in receiving mode. I'm going to be spoiled all the time. The mindset, this device is probably an in US dollars. So I'm in the US. So US dollars like $3,500, $3,500. I don't know how much that equates to in pounds, but that's a lot of money to be like somebody just wants to give it to me. And so I was very like, "Oh my gosh, are you sure? Are you certain?" Like I did not want to be the no strings attached. I didn't want to have any residuals anywhere. No, I want you to better your craft. And I was like, "Ooh, no intention just became intention. Oh my gosh." And I'm clapping like a seal for myself. I'm so excited. So
Yeah.
you're right. I just went against my zero intention. But I think I do want to highlight the fact that it wasn't laid out for me. It was here's an opportunity. Do you want to take it? Yeah, I sure do.
And I
So I think that's the best part of it.
And then on the back of the podcast that we recorded last week, talking about our manifestations, is like, yeah, we've manifested these things, but we still have to take action towards them. Like we still have to make intentions and then make a choice. Like those are why our manifestations exist and evolve and blossom. It's because we've either talked about it or we've mentioned it, or like I don't know, it was like mine was coincidental. Maybe I should have mentioned this last week, but mine was coincidental. I was like, I'm going to make a wish list. And this was before Taylor Swift told us about her new album. But I was like, I want to make a wish list of the things that I want to do. And on that, I was like paddleboarding yoga. And I just happened to see an article that was on about this gorgeous area in South Wales. And then I was like, well, wait a second. I checked out the website. There was openings, there were opportunities. So I booked myself into a class. So I was like, okay, well, that was totally random, but it totally wasn't because it was something that I wanted to do. I happened to pay attention to the article, and then I took action towards manifesting that. You know what I mean? So like, it's just like, I think that intention setting, which is why I love asking that question every week, is when we set an intention, like you may have got the bike, but you could just do what everybody else does and put their clothes on it, which that's another clothes holder, people have got training equipment in their house. You know who you are. You know you're embarrassed right now as you're listening to this, because it's like, oh yeah, my old clothes are on that, or my washing is on that, and it happens. But I think that if we end up setting intentions, and I feel like this matches into a hot topic of the day, and if we can set an intention by just doing something very, very short, very, very manageable, achievable, we're ticking off that movement. And I want to actually start with a science-backed discussion points before we go into the questions that I've got planned. So, you know what I'm like. For those of you who are new, I love neuroscience. I love learning about the brain as well as the physiology, and I love dipping into the science. So this is just a little bit of a teaser. You might find that these next few minutes might really engage your own curiosity, and that's what I encourage. Learn more about this. So, neurochemistry of movement, we know exercise increases all of the good hormones. It increases dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. It really does improve your mood and motivation. And I always used to say to a client of, if they were feeling really lethargic and tired, if they still felt really drained after my 5 minute warm up, and it would literally be a 5 minute mobility warm up, if they still felt tired, they can go home with my permission. Not once did that happen, because as soon as they did the 5 minute movement, they were like, oh, let's do a little bit. Now that I'm here, now that I'm in my clothes, now that I've done a little bit of movement, I feel okay. And I talk a lot about BDNF, brain derived neurotropic factor, in my first book, Happiness Within. And that definitely supports your neuroplasticity. It helps the brain adapt, it helps us learn, and it really does help us resist stress. But then we're also looking at movement as medicine because it's actually a hormonal and stress regulator. Now, movement reduces our cortisol, our adrenaline levels, and it actually helps us reset the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So those short bursts of exercise, a lot of people are calling them exercise snacks. This is how I describe it to my corporate clients. Those short bursts of exercise doesn't mean you need to change your clothes. It doesn't mean you need to be in the gym for an hour. All you are doing is 5 to 10 minutes of exercise, anything. It could be something super, super short. It could be a movement. It could be going out to get some fresh air. That re-regulates the stress response. And I'm doing that right now. I'm trying to do short bursts of exercises a couple of times a day. And not only that, we're actually looking at studies who are linking walking, like aerobic movement, with divergent thinking and creativity. Now, I speak about this a lot in my presentations with corporate clients. How can we actually stand up, move, especially when we're in conferences? Sometimes we're in these dingy little conference arenas. It's cold because the AC, and having that walking meeting, having that light aerobic movement actually does create divergent thinking. And I know that Steve Jobs was an advocate of this when he was alive in Apple. And this is how we're actually processing those unresolved emotions through motion, because stagnation often mirrors the emotional suppression. So, how can we release those things through somatic movement? And obviously, we've got the World Health Organization research that shows that regular moderate exercise, moderate activity does reduce the risk of chronic disease. We are spending a lot of time sedentary. I'm guilty of that because of the shift in what I'm doing right now. But when we're actually moving, it's preserving the mitochondrial health. It's actually delaying cellular aging. And I think that one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, Krista, especially from your medicine background, like, why is movement so effective as medicine? And why do we underestimate it compared to those pharmacological solutions?
We underestimate it. You know, I've gone through different periods of my life where I underestimated it, even knowing what it what I was going to feel like after I do it, right? But we underestimate it because a lot of outside forces, outside stimuli, whether it's the boss, you're a minute past your break time. It was the fear of being in any form, having some type of retaliation for the way that you're doing your job, i.e., for I took my laptop out to the picnic table outside to have my conference. Is that professional? Depends on which conference it is. Is it appropriate? Absolutely. Um, my best thinking comes from being outside. However, you know, after being in meeting after meeting, we need to change up the scenery. I need some fresh air. And if you want me to stay on meetings all day, you need to work with me a little bit because you're not getting the best. I'm not putting out my best in that. And I think that judgment plays a huge role in how much we allow ourselves in the workplace to do these things, unless it is a organizational stewardship movement that the organization is like, hey, and there's so much encouragement here. We want you, hey, we want to do a little competition within office, laps around the parking lot, stuff like that. If they're encouraging these things, it's not so bad. But in a lot of corporations and companies, they don't have this as a not I don't want to say requirement, as they don't encourage this as, hey, your health and wellness is important to us, even if they're coming from a productivity standpoint. But I would think, like, even if they were, why are you mad that it took me an extra 120 seconds to get, from the opposite side of the building back to my desk? And I think there's a fear of retaliation there in some areas, especially when it's career driven. However, for other trades and other folks, sometimes it's the stay at home mom that, there's restriction in time limit and availability and things like that. But we don't incorporate them because a lot of the time we've forgotten, because we're so busy. We've allowed ourselves to just kind of drown in some of our duties and responsibilities. And that small reminder, even if it is chasing your kid down the aisle of the grocery store, giggling as loud as they can, sometimes it's just that. That's that wake up call of, I need to do this more with them. This is crazy. That was actually fun. And I should probably be upset that they ran. But no, No, that tiny reminder is exactly what we do need. And I love that it's becoming more prominent um, in the workforce of a necessity. That is how, if you, that is how we stay, not just stay busy, but stay cognitively, I want to say productive. I'm looking for a different word, actually. Um, it's not coming to me at the moment, but all of these things of moving, even if you're working, taking a call on the phone, on the mobile, walking the building, even, or hey, let's not sit in the conference room. Let's just all walk, wherever it is you're walking. Let's take a lap and have this meeting while we're walking. A lot of people don't do that. And I think it would benefit the workforce so much in new ideas and new. It's not just because you're moving, you're getting more oxygen, you're breathing, you're taking this normal meeting that we would all sit around by the same painting, around the same table, around the same people. And it's like, let's shake it up. Anybody want to go do our meeting and sit down for lunch, even though we're walking to lunch, right? I
Mm.
think that's huge. It just leaves so much more room for new ideas.
Absolutely. Well, we already know that regular movement does increase executive functioning, attention, memory, as well as obviously our hippocampus. It like helps regulate our short-term, long-term memory. That's why I exercise, just so I can get smarter, Krista. Like that's the only reason I exercise.
Oh my
So I can
gosh.
eat cake. So I can eat cake, and
I
I'm
was gonna say,
trying.
where's the ice cream and pizza? Because let's
Right.
not lie, that's like,
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
Pizza
you know
that,
what? It's really
whew,
funny because I used to go from, oh, I've eaten this. I need to exercise to counteract that. But that's not the solution. Like that was never a good, healthy relationship to continue. And actually, you've taken one of my questions. You've actually given a really, really good example. Like you've hit some of my presentations that I give to the corporate clients. How can busy professionals integrate micro movements into their daily life without losing productivity? I feel like in this day and age, everything's so fast paced, especially even if you're in certain sports. Like there are
yes.
certain things that are constantly on the go. It's always a we need this by yesterday. We need this by when. And it's unfortunate in that sense where we forget we ourselves are not robots. We can't just plug ourselves in and recharge our batteries. We need to make allowances for our habits, for our health and wellness. Now, yeah, we've talked about, the way that it can help us neurologically, but also the when you're integrating those micro movements, I think I mentioned to you, Krista, like just walking around the office or taking the next, if you're in a an office building, maybe go if obviously if your building, if your company owns multiple floors, you're able to do this, but go to a different level and go to that restroom, right? Or go to the next water cooler, go to the other place where you're having a team meeting, or you're having to move buildings or do something different that can encourage that movement, because everybody's short of time, everybody is always behind, everybody always has a long list of things to do, especially busy mums. Like you don't really have a chance to plan your day because your day is occupied with this human that you need to keep alive. And I feel like there is constant movement with that. But when you end up going to the office or you become sedentary, it is so easy to go into that habit. But I actually wanted to ask you, how does movement help regulate the emotional stress or trauma stored in the body? Because I know that you've got some like example. I think we both have examples of this, but what would you say That's a movement. You mentioned it yesterday. I think we were talking on we were talking on the phone, and you were saying that in order for you to emotionally regulate, like you wanted to go do some exercise, almost like sweat it out. But how does movement help you regulate your emotional stress or any trauma stored in your body right now or before?
So specific, sure. So specifically for me, depending on what area is in regards to emotion do I need outlet for? In not saying anyone is less emotional than the other, but is this business emotional? Is this personal emotional? And if it's personal, is this family? Is it myself? How am I responding to the current stimuli at hand? Um, and I'll be vulnerable. That's fine. My dad's got a very sad diagnosis, and there's not much we can do, but Krista can make it better because Krista has experience in quite a few different modalities. And what I've been really stuck in my head with was, okay, business just got personal. How can I manage my emotions, but still maintain continuity in what I know, what I have practiced, my evidence based practice in doing these different modalities, but on my dad. So the fact that I got this trainer, I think it was so very divinely timed, this cycling trainer. And I just hook up my bike to this. And I said, you know what? In those moments, after I'm done, I'm just going to allow myself to feel. And my ego side was like, I'm going to take it out on my body. My emotional side, mental side was, I need to get lost. My mental was. My emotional was, that's fine. I want to allow all parts of my body to cry. And what does that mean? Sweat. So I find that I am my best self in personal and business when I allow myself to fully let go. And what I mean by that, it's not just get lost in the movement, the heart rate, counting, the repetitions, this rotations, how many rotations a minute on a bike. But there's so many different analytical things that I can analyze while I'm writing that just take the place of everything I'm feeling. And then when I'm finally at that point of like, am I still doing this? Has it been 40 minutes? Oh my gosh, I've gone like, 25 miles. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't feel as triggered. I don't feel as imbalanced in, I can't believe I'm practicing this on my own dad. I didn't think I'd get to a point where I would ever have to be in this position. However, I find regulation in being able to mentally get lost, be physically exhausted in a safe environment where I have no other responsibilities. Just I can just pay attention to myself. And yes, normally this is in the middle of the night because, that's when we have our time to wind down. But I'm also very um I don't sleep at night. I don't like to sleep at night. The stars are awake. I'm awake. I want to play. And sometimes in that emotional irregulation, movement is actually everything. And there are still days, yes, I'm in my 40s. I like to walk to the park and sit on the swings. Everybody can judge me. I don't care. That's fine. That's my thing. And I like to swing like I'm flipping seven,
Too.
if I'm being honest. And it's not just the walk at the park, but when you get on a swing, no matter what age you are,
It's
at
so
what
much
point do you
fun.
get lost?
So
Well,
much
what point do you lean your head back and let your hair just let drag the floor or, the ground when you go by? When was the last time you did that? And so there's a point I get to where I can lean my head back in movement where I'm like, gosh, I needed that. And it wasn't because I wasn't holding space to cry. It was I just couldn't process everything at the same time. But if I let my mental get lost and let my body get tired, I could feel into other things. And then when I'm done, but it wasn't just emotionally crying. I let all that extra confusion, it's like I feel like I sweat out my confusion and my imbalance. And it brings me back to a place of homeostasis in all areas. That's for me. Don't know if anybody else is like that, but that's just perspective for you.
I think that you're not alone in that, especially when we link movement to mental health. It's chemical, right? We've already discussed the chemical reactions that happen in the body, but it's also an emotional and spiritual journey. If you think about how many people do the Ironman series or they do triathlons, and nobody sane does that much cardio because it is a mental game. Like a lot of times, especially I remember when I was running a lot back in the day, one of the coaches used to say to me, well, not used to, he just categorically out said, why are you even running? And I was like, because it helps me clear my mental cage. It helps me process things. And I just,
Yeah.
for me, sometimes like listening to music, pounding my feet on the pavement, on the road, felt therapeutic because it was a form of meditation. It was a form of mindfulness for me. And I feel like what you've just described when you talked about being on the swings, like you can't do that forever. You get tired. So either kicking your feet is tired or you're trying to push the kid and your arm gets tired. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing, you can't do it consistently for a very long time. And I feel like that is the whole point with the link between movement and mental health is what are you doing that you're enjoying? And why can't you do more of that? I think that a lot of people, especially as a coach, said to me, I don't like the gym. I don't want to go, I don't want to be in the gym. And then my challenge to them was, and obviously to you guys who are listening, my challenge to everyone is, well, what do you like doing? Try and find this opportunity to figure out the different sports, different movements, different classes. It doesn't necessarily mean I may love the gym. I may love lifting weights and strength training and doing yoga and kind of like almost regimented routine type things, but then also even though strength training is important for women, especially at this day and age, it's still good that you're walking to the shops or you're cycling in your garage or you're playing on the swings or you're running around with your child. I feel like all of those micro movements actually do encourage um an integration into our daily life. What can you do every day? What can you do every week? And what can you do every month? Like we put those tasks on people's relationships. Oh, let's have a date night this week. Well, have you given yourself a date night for you and your body, for you and your mind? And it's almost like we're not scheduling those things in because we're not putting those things as a priority. Like let's be honest, Krista, how many times have people said, "Oh, I've lost my job," or I need to cut back. That's the biggest thing. Even if they haven't lost their job, because that's a pretty big event. If they have to
Right.
cut back on their finances, the first thing that goes is the gym membership. Usually, oh, I need to cut back. I'm no longer going to need this membership. But wait a second, how many like social media things have you got that you're prescribed to? How many like of these channels and the TV prescriptions have you got like on the go every month? And you just think to
Things
yourself, well,
doesn't become more important than the
yeah,
gym membership when should,
yeah. And then
we're
obviously
speaking health. Yeah,
different people
definitely
have
an
different
opposite.
priorities. I'm not saying that everybody will cancel their gym membership. Like I'm
Right.
not a part of a gym anymore. Like, and I don't work in a gym anymore. But for me, movement is medicine. It helps me regulate my emotional stress. It certainly has helped me release the trauma in my body. But there's a question about strength training as well. Like I actually, rather than me answer it, I wanted to ask you, what ways do you think that strength training differs from mindfulness or yoga, especially in its impact on mental focus and resilience? Do you have a take
So
on
I
this?
do. Strength training in general for me, I actually feel depleted in the best way. Depleted in um with every rep, I might not be trying to build, but I'm trying to maintain. So I would do more reps than um a heavier weight, right? So more reps at a easier weight. But it was, can I make um my average, say I'm doing, whether it's 10 to 15 reps, depending what area, it doesn't matter. Um, just for example purposes, did I make my 10? Depending on my mindset, walking into the gym or at home, wherever this is, walking into the workout, what exactly do I need right now? And a lot of the times, for me specifically, I want to be tired. Get, I want to physically be exhausted because that's not going to leave any room for my mind to go down all the list of things that I need to do. And so it makes me want to be physically depleted, do a little bit more weight, get each rep in real, just precise in technique. And I not only feel achievement and success, not with technique, but also I feel success with myself because had I not done that, all of that would have just sat in my body and stewed. I would have stewed over it for probably days. And I feel, not only do I feel stronger, I sleep better, I have mental clarity. But I don't know why I think this is actually a thing. I need to feel physically exhausted when it comes to movement to purge everything. Nah, everything is probably a little extensive, but in regards to it truly being medicine, I find myself wanting to be physically depleted and exhausted just for that moment of like, man, I feel good. Because walking into, I probably didn't even want to do it.
Mm.
Do you get that way?
It's really funny you say that. So, like, going back to the does strength train differ from mindfulness and yoga and its impact on mental focus and resilience? I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think there is a difference between the two. And the reason is, for me personally, either I'm eking out that extra rep or I'm holding the present state of awareness in the pose that I'm doing, both simultaneously, whether it's adding that extra rep with that weight, going heavier on the weight, or holding a specific position or breathing through a sequence of movements, all require me to be present, to focus, and to increase my resilience. So I feel that it doesn't really make a difference in terms of which type of activity I do, but I definitely feel that I am more present when I do those certain activities. So say for example, we've took examples of strength training, yoga, but it happens with me when I play tennis too. The tennis is probably the best example to say strength training gets you into the present moment. If you do not participate and be fully present in what you're doing, especially if you're doing things like Olympic lifting, you could get hurt really, really badly. In order to prevent that, you are present, you are focused, and then you're building your resilience by asking yourself, do I need to continue to do these sets and reps? Yoga is very similar because there's been times when I'm doing yoga and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this now. Like I'm mentally checked out, but I'm like, no, stick with it, finish it. And it's usually not me doing the yoga, it's usually somebody else like taking over the class. Now, in tennis, oh, I've effed up. I've missed a point. Oh, I've lost another point. Okay, come back to it. And then you're stop starting, aren't you? Like you're having to be very reactive to an external person and the actual tennis ball. So I feel like it is as a combination, it doesn't matter which movement you do, there are certain types of activities that could be mindless, like running, for example, but it could also help with resilience. It could still help with mental focus. So I feel like it really depends upon what works for you best. But I also am a big, big advocate as a strength coach of a holistic approach to training. So I don't think that you should solely do yoga or you should solely do cardiovascular work. You should solely run. You should solely do tennis. This is why I was coming back to what can you do in the day? What can you do in the week? And what can you do in the month? Because these types of holistic training, we do need strength training. We do need cardiovascular training. We do need mobility. We need flexibility. And we also need our breathwork and mindfulness. And those five qualities, if we can integrate that into our daily, weekly, monthly schedule, you're on a win. Like there is just nothing else you need to do if you can get those five parts of the wheel turning. But what do you think, in your opinion, if movement is medicine, if I feel like my wheel needs to have those five pins to make it turn easily, what do you say is the correct dosage for our modern life?
I don't even know that correct dosage exists.
Well,
Is
a
that
lot of people still prescribe it, don't they? What is it? A tech company came out with you need to do 10,000 steps a day. Another company said you need to do this much cardiovascular exercise 2 to 3 times a week. You need to do this much strength training 2 to 3 times a week. I don't know where they get this information from, especially because marketing is very good these days. People are still talking about the 10,000 steps a day. And they didn't realize it was a marketing ploy and it's phenomenal. It's a similar, like, this is obviously completely different example, but it's how the diamond industry, the jewelry industry, should I say, promoted men buying diamonds because it's the women's best friend, apparently, according to the marketing strategy. More men buy diamonds. And who is it targeted towards? Men. Because they are being told we need to set aside 3 months' salary. Where did that even come from? It was all marketing. So I feel like movement in the dose, in the prescription, has come from these tech companies, has come from clever, clever marketing. But I don't think that's a one size fits all.
I completely agree. And that's exactly where I was going to go because we can use the excuse all day, every day, we have no time. But in everything that I'm doing, whether it's parking farther from the entrance, whether it's like you, like you've said in your um, presentations, if that's taking that meeting on a walk with you or walking to lunch. I specifically, I walk around the parking lot. We have a huge parking lot, and I do 3 or 4 laps. It probably takes me like 15 minutes. That's about actually my break time. And I do that because I work in the very back of my building. That alone from my car feels like I'm walking to China from the United States. And so sometimes when I'm sitting back there, there's nobody comes in the back. There's no traffic. There's just stagnant air. And I'm like, I can't do this. So I'll walk back out to the parking lot. And instead of going to my car specifically, I'll just walk around it. And it's probably, you know what, it's probably a quarter mile around it. Now that I'm thinking about how big that is. And it's these minor things for me, and a prescription is different for everybody. I think that these extra steps, I think that parking farther, I think that me making weights out of, a gallon of milk in each arm. And I'll sit there and be silly and just, okay, well, I'll just walk farther with it. And next thing you know, I'm like doing bicep curls with milk. And I'm like, okay, you're doing the most. And I make fun of myself sometimes. I think that's what makes it different, but it also makes it more doable and able. And also that makes it more, mm, I will incorporate those things more into my day when I can still get all the things I need done. I'll just do them just a little bit different. And it is different every single time. I don't have a set way of doing things. Um, Here in this, I don't know how it is in Europe, but you get your groceries, you put them on a belt, you put them from the belt into the bag, and the bag into the cart into the car into the house. So there's all these different ways. How many times are you lifting up your groceries in one trip to the grocery store? So I make a thing out of those things. And sometimes me and my kids toss groceries out of fun, and that might be very irresponsible, but it gets the job done. And sometimes laughter is the medicine for us. But because we are moving, we are creating both of those things, movement and laughter, and both of those are medicine for us. So I think it all depends on what your lifestyle is, how much you're willing to incorporate, uh, versus are you willing to schedule out a time with no distraction? And a lot of people are not. And I'm one of those people, I know I'm going to be distracted. Even if I have a sign that says, don't distract me, leave me alone. I'm off duty. Mom's not in service right now. Oh no, there's going to be a phone call. There's going to be a mom. And I have to work with those things. Can I just ignore them? Yes. But are they going to go away? No. Then I'm going to be riding my bike even faster trying to get done. No, no, no. I welcome the distraction because it makes me want to focus more on it. And I think that because I don't put it on my schedule, I make myself feel guilty about, you didn't schedule this. That's fine. I actually don't feel like doing it right now because I think I have to stick to that time. It's not about being flexible when I put it on my schedule. It's like a mind trick for me. I have to know I have the choice. And the choice is I do want to do that. I just don't want to do it while my kids are awake.
I mean, that makes
Um,
sense. I think that a lot of mums have that issue of I cannot do this before they have their bedtime routine. Like it needs to
yeah.
be scheduled. And I just want to add in to what you've said as well is we need to be easier on ourselves in regards to that regimented time. Like somebody had said to me, I was speaking to a corporate client a couple of months ago, and they said, but I'm really tired. I do I wake up earlier so I can work out because I know that I get the best workout in the morning, and then when I go about my day, the day just gets away from me because there's just so much to do, and then I don't end up doing it in the afternoon or evening. So the best thing to do is do my workout in the morning, but I was obviously talking about sleep is very conducive to weight loss as well.
Mhm.
And when I'd spoken to her, she was saying, well, do I wake up earlier to work out or do I get more sleep? And I was like, that is such a brilliant question because I would say if you are so tired that you cannot wake up, or you are so tired so you cannot move well or just move even a little bit, then you need more sleep, right?
Mhm.
However, I've been in occasions where I have been quite sleepy-eyed and I've known that I didn't want to get to the gym at that point, but I just rolled out my yoga mat, did a few moves, and I felt more awake because of it. So I feel like, again, it depends. Like weight loss is conducive if you can sleep well. alarms shock us. It shocks our nervous system. It alerts us, and it's not very healthy for us. But can we intend ourselves to wake up at a certain time, and then what is our habit throughout the day? Can we introduce those small movements? And I love that you talked about walking around the parking lot, because it's something that is accessible. It is available. Can you walk up and down the stairs if you don't have somewhere to walk around outdoors? We're not all lucky that we have a park around the corner to us. If we did, that would be amazing. A 5-minute walk around some greenery is perfect. But even just walking up and down the stairs a couple of times, you will notice how much breathlessness you will get just from those things alone. And we need to be a little bit more compassionate with ourselves, especially like you said with mums. You can't do it while the kids are awake or they're demanding things of you. But how can you be more compassionate with yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. You know what, I'm just going to do it for 10. Because again, if we do too much intense exercise before bed, we're on a high state of alert, and it takes a little bit longer for us to wind down again. So there are so many anomalies. We haven't even talked about travel right now. We haven't even talked about how our body responds to like sleep and exercise and nutrition, and what time of the day is good for protein. This was purely about, I think we both agree movement is medicine, but it's also prescribing that medicine ourselves, not relying on somebody else to predict us and tell us what is the correct dosage of that medicine is. I know doctors do it with their prescription. But if you think
Absolutely.
movement being a chemical reaction, do what feels good, do more of what feels good, but also do the thing that you don't like. So if,
That's such a good point.
right, because if do a little bit of what you don't like. So
Because if you don't like it, why don't you like it? And this brings me back to what you said earlier about the 5 things you need for your 5 elements that are key for
everyone.
a well lifestyle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But this is that part of giving yourself grace and listening to your body of, I hate doing that. Is it going to help you though? Yeah. Can
Yeah,
we do like 5 and be done?
exactly.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Do I have to do it right now? No, let's do it when nobody's watching. We all have this conversation with it within ourselves, and that giving ourselves grace, also being aware of it, but also allowing ourselves to not feel bad for feeling it. Can we do it? Yeah. Do we have to do it with people watching? Okay, we don't want to be judged when we do it. There is nothing wrong with that.
Mm,
I have that. I do that. I'm not going to lie. And I do exactly what you said. Even though we don't like it, can we do a few?
mm,
Okay. All right, fine. I'll do a few. And then I find out myself doing all of them. And I'm like, I don't know why I just did that whole mind game with myself because I was talking myself into it. How do you think I got here?
but it's so funny as well, because when we're trying all these new things, we're building those neurological pathways. We're trying something new. When we're trying something new and we're using our body to do it, that's when we're building our intelligence. That's when we're building new versions of ourselves that we're unlocking. And so in our last podcast, I was talking about how much potential we have. Our potential is infinite. Like it's so like beyond what we can comprehend, but we can still access those things by putting those healthier habits in place. And yeah, keep chasing the joy, I feel. But I feel like this is a good point to round up. And I remembered the Oracle card of the day, because I remember on the third one, I completely forgot about it. But you will never guess what card came out. Like, I randomly pick out a card, you guys, for those of you who are like, nah, she's probably picked out this card. Listen, no word of a lie. This card is called Spirit of the River, Movement Towards Adventure.
Stop
Just
it.
because, just because of that movement card, that movement word, I got excited on the card. So let's read out what the oracle card is. And this card is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And let's see if there is pieces of wisdom or any some sort of inspiration that anybody can pull from this message. So, the spirit of the river invites you to step into the flow, to stop swimming against or avoiding the current. Allow the waters to carry you downstream away from the eddies and whirlpools. It's time to heed the call of a new adventure waiting for you. Stop working on the problem for a while. The issue is not what it seems, it is your addiction to fixing what has gone bad that is the consuming so much of your time. Work to create greater good, and that bad will resolve itself on its own. There is nothing that you can accomplish with more efforting, as the situations in your life right now are not subject to forces beyond your control. Recognize this, step back, and trust the flow. There is no loss of face or lack of honor or integrity. It is simply the way things are at this moment. So, when this card appears, it is your time to say yes to the next leg of your journey. Your life is like a river, inevitably and inexorably flowing to the sea, which is your divine destination. Be fearless and release yourself to the rushing water in the middle of the stream. Whatever you are holding on to, the feelings, the thoughts, the beliefs about how things are, how they should be or could be, can be fixed easily with the power of the spirit of the river. Simply let go, enjoy the thrill of the ride, all will be well. I feel like that is literally like go find some joy, go find some movement in an adventure, and yeah, see if you can integrate movement into that. And then rather than thinking I have to do this, like what do you want to do? What do you get to do? How do you want to enjoy the movement of your day?
I love that. That's perfect.
Right? It's not
It
bad.
is.
I couldn't have picked that if I tried, I feel. But
Yeah, it's all about what are you choosing? Are you choosing to, if you have the opportunity, are you choosing to walk the office?
mm,
So sometimes for me, I don't want to walk the office. I'm going to use my lunch break and I'm going to drive down the road like a few miles and I'm going to go walk around the duck pond because I want to watch these things.
yes,
These
love
ducks do
that.
their ducky goose thing. And that's a choice. So in every choice, there is some type of medicine for you, but can you be present enough with yourself to acknowledge what does your body need? What will make you feel better right now? Not saying that what you're feeling is wrong. Just how can I implore you to think beyond what you normally do and schedule that joy in movement?
Mm. Oh, I love that. What a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much, Krista. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Unapologetically You. If today's episode resonated, share this episode with someone who might need this discussion. So hit subscribe and tap the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode that we release. And also make sure you follow us on Spotify. And remember, the sky isn't the limit, it is just the view. So keep being unapologetically you. I'll see you next time, Krista, and I will see you all very soon. Bye for now.